Okay, today I'm going to walk you through a pattern that is a granny square with an eye. So you see you've got your pupil, your iris, and so forth and so on. This is not my pattern. I did not come up with this or write it. This pattern can be found at maureenshop.com. I will make sure there's a link so that you can get to that pattern. But this is what your finished product is going to look like, more or less. I think this was one of the first ones that I did, and it got a little wonky because my stitch count was off, but yours is not going to be. So, but that's a pretty good idea of what you're going to be doing. The materials you're going to need for this project are a size G crochet hook, stitch markers. I prefer these little plastic ones. You're really only going to need one. These are kind of a hard plastic. There is another kind, well, there's a bunch of different kinds, but the other kind that I have are these kind of rubbery ones that do snap together and lock. However, I'm not a big fan of these for this particular project because as rubbery as this is, it tends to catch on the yarn that I'm using. A yarn needle for weaving in your ends at the end, a pair of scissors. A word on crochet hooks. In general, I have these two sets that are from two different companies, and you can see the G on this one is 4.25 millimeters, but on this set it's 4.5, and it's okay. Just get the one that says G. You can buy it individually, or if you want, you can buy a set. For the yarn, you're going to need a black yarn and a white yarn. The white is obviously going to be for the whites of the eye. The black is going to be for the center iris plus the outside border. For your iris, you're going to want a dark and a light color of the same hue or similar. I've got this teal for the inner part of the iris and this lighter blue for the outer part, and you can see that that's a nice contrast. And then you're going to need a background color that is contrasting from what you already had, and I'm going to use this purple for my background. This particular pattern uses all of your basic crochet stitches. You've got a chain stitch, a slip stitch, a single crochet, a double crochet, and a triple crochet, all in this pattern. Plus you have the starting method of a magic ring. A chain stitch is probably the most basic of the crochet stitches. You have a loop on your hook. You're going to come under and grab your yarn, pull it through, and you have a loop. Grab your yarn, pull it through. Grab your yarn, pull it through. And that is a chain stitch. The next stitch I'm going to show you is a single crochet. When you've already got a round of crochet stitches done, it's going to look something kind of like this. And these little V's across the top, those are your stitches. To do a single crochet, you are going to come under your stitch, both loops. This is the front loop, this is the back loop. You're going to go under both of them. You're going to grab your yarn and pull it through. And now you have two loops on your hook. You're going to grab your yarn again and pull through both loops. That's a single crochet. I'll show it to you again. Under, grab, pull through, grab, pull through. Next is a double crochet stitch. To do a double crochet stitch, you wrap your yarn first and then come into your stitch and grab it again and now you've got 3 loops. You're going to grab your yarn, you're going to pull through the first 2, now you're down to 2, and you're going to pull through the second 2. That is a double crochet. We'll do that again. Wrap around through your stitch, grab, grab, pull through, and grab, pull through. The next stitch we're going to use is a half double crochet, which you think would be a single crochet, but it's not. A half double is something different. So just like a double crochet, you're going to wrap first, and you're going to come under your stitch, and you're going to grab your yarn, but instead of, and now you have 3 loops just like a normal double crochet, but instead of pulling through these 2 and then pulling through the 2 that are left, you're going to grab and you're going to pull through all 3. That's a half double crochet. The next stitch we're going to do is a treble crochet or triple crochet. Sometimes it's called treble, sometimes it's called triple. But you're going to wrap twice, come into your stitch, grab your yarn, and now you've got 4 loops on your needle. You're going to grab and pull through the first 2, just the first 2. Now you're down to 3. Pull through the first 2 again. Now you're down to 2, and you're going to pull through your last 2. And that is a treble crochet. Wrap twice, under your stitch, grab, grab, pull through, grab, pull through, grab, pull through. The last stitch I'm going to demonstrate before I move on to the actual pattern is going to be the slip stitch. And slip stitch is super simple. You can actually slip stitch all the way around, but most of the time a slip stitch is used to bind off or finish out a round or change colors or whatever. It's to finish. It's to end your work. So to do a slip stitch, you're going to go just like with a single crochet. You're going to come under your stitch, you're going to grab your yarn and pull it through, but instead of wrapping again, you're just going to pull that stitch through your working loop. And then you can cut your yarn and just pull it through and then pull it tight. And that finishes your piece. So for the magic ring, you're going to lay the tail of your yarn over your fingers, and you're going to grab it on your pinky with your thumb. You're going to wrap around your first 3 fingers, and you want to keep this fairly loose, and you're going to cross it so that it looks like this. You're going to come back up underneath and in between these 2 legs and catch it like that. It's going to look like that. When you turn your hand over, you've got 2 parallel loops. I'm going to do that again. Over your palm, around, cross, between 2 loops. To get your yarn actually onto your hook, you're going to come under your first loop between your first 2 fingers, and you're going to grab your yarn and you're going to pull it through, and then you're going to twist so that it actually twists. Then you're going to grab above the cross, and you're going to pull that piece through the loop you just made, and that's your magic ring. To get your stitches on to your magic ring, the stitches are done just like normal, except instead of going through the legs of a stitch, you're going to go under your magic ring and grab your yarn that way. And this particular pattern calls for a double crochet to start, so there's your double crochet. You wrap around, come under, grab, and we're going to do 11 of these onto this ring. So I'm going to go ahead and do my 11 stitches, or my 10 other stitches onto here. Now that we have our 11 stitches plus our cast on 3 onto our ring, we're going to pull our ring tight and join it in the round. So to do that, you just pull on your tail, and as you pull, your crochet starts to come together. Once you've pulled your magic ring almost all the way together, you're going to join with a slip stitch. When you join in the round, you never count the first stitch of your chain. That's your first stitch of your chain. You're going to skip that one. This pattern is going to tell you to join on the third stitch, so you skip your first one. 1, 2, 3. There's the stitch you're going to do a slip stitch in. And it's just a normal slip stitch. Pull it through, and then pull through the other loop. And then, now that you're joined, you can pull your magic ring tight. And this is what I like the stitch markers for. Because when you pull this end through, this has a tendency to get lost. This stitch right here. So I come in and grab it with a stitch marker so that I always know where it is. Alright, we're going to go ahead and start on our pattern. And the first yarn it calls for is our black yarn, and I apologize in advance. The stitches are going to be really hard to see in this black yarn, just the nature of the beast, but I will do my best to show them to you as best I can. So it starts with a magic ring, over your palm, around, cross, between, turn, got your 2 parallels. You're going to grab and twist, over, grab, and pull through. And there's our magic ring to start this piece. Our instructions say to chain 3 to start, so let's chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. You're going to want to be careful of your tension doing this, because if you get these too tight, you're not going to be able to get your hook back through them. Now that we have our chain 3 done, we're going to start on the next piece of instruction in the pattern, which says to double crochet 11 into the magic ring. So we're going to start our double crochet just like normal, wrap around, and we're going to come into our magic ring. And grab our yarn and pull it up around it. So now you can see we've wrapped around the magic ring, and we're going to finish out our double crochet as normal. Now, I highly advise that you put in a stitch marker right here, because these stitches are black. It's hard to see, and we're going to have to do a slip stitch to pick this up later. See, I'm even having a hard time finding my first stitch to place my marker, so don't feel bad if you can't find it. Okay, there's our first chain. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to join into that third chain stitch once we're done. So I can find it later when we're done with this. I'm going to go ahead and mark it with a stitch marker. So let's do these other 10 stitches. Alright, now that we've got our 11 double crochet onto our magic ring, we're going to pull our magic ring closed, and you just pull on the tail. And it really is better to pull it from underneath, because you want to keep that tail underneath. And this is just going to pull. And it's okay that it's not completely tight for right now. We're going to tighten it up in a second. And now the instructions say to join in the third chain. That's why we marked it with that stitch marker right there, because it is really hard to find. So I'm going to go ahead and slip my crochet hook into my first chain and pull my stitch marker off to get it out of the way. We're going to loop through it and then pull through our other loop. And there we've joined it in the round. And we're going to go ahead and pull that center a little bit more snug. Now, you see when we pull this up and pull this kind of snug, these two stitches right here kind of overlap. I'm going to go ahead and mark this stitch right here. And I'm going to mark my first stitch, just so that it's easier to find after I break this yarn off. Well, not really break it, we're going to cut it, but a lot of instructions will say break yarn. They just mean to cut it. So I'm going to take our hook out and we're going to pull on our loop to make it bigger. You want, I don't know, maybe about 4 to 5 inches out of your loop. And we're going to cut our yarn and then we're going to pull it through. And there's our first round. Now don't worry about this not being tight just yet. We're going to tighten it up once we add our second color. but for now, you've got your first round. Now that we've got our first round done, we're going to start on our second round, which is the inner round of our iris, which is going to be the darker color that you use for your eye color, whichever one that is. I'm going to use this teal, and the way I start these is with a slip knot. I loop over my index finger and grab with my thumb and middle finger, and then come behind with the tail and put it in between. Then I pull that loop off my thumb and over my middle finger and pull the tail out, and then just pull snug. And that's your slip knot. So now that we got our slip knot, we got this ready to go, we're going to come into this first stitch on our round that we marked. And see what I mean? It's like ridiculously hard to see these individual stitches, even with the bright lights that I've got on this. We're going to come into our first stitch with our hook. And now that we're in there, I'm going to go ahead and take the stitch marker out, get it out of the way. And we're going to take our slip knot that we just made with our new color, and we're going to put that over our crochet hook. And we're going to pull it kind of snug but not tight, and again enough that you can grab a loop and pull it through. And then we're going to pull that little slip knot through this stitch. Our first instructions for this pattern, for this row, tell us to chain 3. So we'll go ahead and chain 3. 1, and you see after we've done that first chain, now that's attached. So that's our first chain. 1, chain 2, chain 3. So now that we've gotten our chain 3 done, the next instructions say to double crochet in the same space as the beginning chain 3. So you see how this is wrapped around this stitch, and there's that space in between the top loop of the stitch and the rest of it. And we're going to do a double crochet into that space. So just a normal double crochet, nothing special. And there we go. So the next instructions for this round say to do 2 double crochet in each stitch all the way around. Essentially, we're going to be taking this round of 12 and increasing it to 24. And there's our first 2 right there. So we're going to go and do 2 stitches in each of these 1. I know it's hard to see, but we're going to do our double crochet and come under our loops. There's 1, and we're going to do it again in the same spot. There's 2. And we're going to do this all the way around. So let's go ahead and get that done. Now that we have this completed with the right number of stitches, we are going to go ahead and join it with a slip stitch, as the instructions say. And each of these rounds is joined with a slip stitch, so you're just going to do this for every round. So again, you don't count your first chain. There's your first chain. Don't count it. 1, 2, 3, because it says to join to the 3rd chain of the beginning chain 3. We're going to go into our stitch, grab a loop, and then pull that loop through that one. And again, I'm going to mark that. And we're going to break or cut our yarn. And I pull this out again about 4 or 5 inches. And then cut it. And pull it through. And there's our first round, and now we can start pulling the black ends tight. So pull the middle one tight first to close that up. And then you're going to pull the other one, not like strangulation tight, but snug. And there is our first 2 rounds. And now we're going to change to our third color for our third round. So our third round starts the same way our second round did with the chain 3. I've already done that. And the instructions for this one get slightly more complicated. This was double crochet into our magic loop, but it was still just single stitches. This round was just an easy 2 stitches into each stitch. For the third round, after you do your chain, so our pattern instructions say to double crochet in the same space as the beginning chain 3. So we'll go ahead and do that. And the next instructions are in parentheses, and it says double crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 double crochet in the next stitch, and 11 times. So in pattern notation, if you see a section in brackets or parentheses, and then it gives you a number after that, that bit that is in the bracket or parentheses, that is the pattern that you're going to repeat, and the number is the number of times that you are going to repeat that pattern. So we're going to start these repeats. It says double crochet in the next stitch. So we'll do that, and then 2 double crochet in the stitch after that. And that's 1 repeat of that pattern, and we need to do 11 of them. So we're going to do this again. 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and then we're going to 2 double crochet into the stitch after that. And there's 2. So you can see, ignore these first 2 for a second, but you can see there's your first repeat, and there's your second repeat. So essentially it's giving you 3 stitches for every 2 stitches on the previous row. So we're going to go all the way around doing that. Repeats of the repeat pattern, and it says for the next thing to work a double crochet in the last stitch. So this is your last stitch with a marker. So the way that's going to come out is you have 1, 2, 1, 2, because those are your 2 to start. So we're going to go ahead and do that double crochet. And just like before, we're going to join it with a slip stitch to the third chain. So again, skip 1, 2, 3. There's our chain, third chain. Go in, grab it, and through. Okay, we're going to start on the next round, which is going to be the white of the eye. So we've got white yarn. And this next round is a lot more complicated than what we've done on these previous three. So far, everything we have done on this entire piece has been double crochet, and that's it. For the next round, you're going to start doing singles, half double crochets, and triple crochets. So let's get our yarn joined. And this time it tells us to start with a chain 1. So there's our 1. The writer of this pattern has kind of broke this out into little sections for this round. That does make it a lot easier to read and understand, in my opinion. And so we're going to take it that same way. So the first section of this round starts off with a single crochet in the next stitch. So single crochet, we just go into the stitch, grab and pull through, and then pull through both loops. And then the next bit is in parentheses, so we know we have another repeat, and it's going to tell us to do this repeat 3 times. But it says increase single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So when you see an increase, that's the next stitch. So you're going to increase into this next stitch. And an increase is just all that we did in this second row where we doubled everything up. Except this time, we're going to use a single crochet. This is where it's not clear that that's the stitch you need to use, but for this set of 3 repeats of increase, single crochet in the next 2 stitches, all of it's going to be single crochet. So the increase just means single crochet 2 in the same stitch, just like we did with the double, except it's a single. So there's 2 stitches in the one stitch, and then single crochet in the next 2. So there's your first repeat, and we're going to do that again for our second. So that's the first segment of that round, if you will. The next segment says to half double crochet in the next stitch. So for a half double, you wrap around, through, and then pull through all 3. And then 2 half double in the next stitch. So again, we're going to do 2 in that one of the half double, and then double crochet in the next stitch. So I want you to see what's going on here, and that you've done all of these single crochets, and then all of a sudden you have these half doubles and this double. And if you notice, the height of this round is increasing. These last 3 rounds were all double crochets, so all of the rounds were the same height. It's just a circle. But this increasing of the height of this round is actually what is giving us the shape of the white of this eye. So here's all of the singles, and now we get to the half doubles, and there's our double. So I'm going to leave that there so we can kind of refer back to it. But now we're going to do the third section of this round. And it says 2 triple crochet or 2 TR into the next stitch. So for a triple crochet, you wrap twice into your stitch. You got your 4 loops. So you're going to pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. And it says to do 2 in that same stitch, so we'll do another one. And that is the point. That's the point of our eye. So the next instruction in that section says double crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 half double crochet in the next stitch, and then 1 half double crochet in the next stitch, and then a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So now you can see that the height of our row has peaked at our point, and now because we went from the triples to the doubles to the half doubles back down to the single, the height has come back down, and that's going to be the other side. So this right here is this side with this point. This is the other side, eventually taking us to the other point. So the next section has another repeat, and it's the same repeat that we did before. It's an increase single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So, and again, all of that's going to be single crochet. So you're going to go into your stitch and do 2 single crochet, that's your increase, and then single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And there's 1 repeat. So there's our repeats. Now the next part of that section says half double in the next stitch. So we're starting to increase our round height. So we wrap around, come in, pull through all 3 for our half double, and then 2 half double in the next stitch. Starting to see a pattern here. And then double crochet in the next stitch. And that's that section. So we're starting to come back out and increase that height again for that next point. So the next section says 2 triple crochet in the next stitch, and then double crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 half double in the next stitch, and then half double in the next stitch, which you see is the last stitch of our round. And now you can see the shaping of this eye. And per the instructions again, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the round, which again is not your, when you count that, you don't count this first loop. That's your first stitch. So we're going to go just like before. We're going to go in, pull through, pull through, and I'm going to place my stitch marker. Now we're going to start round 4. Now, I said at the beginning of this that this was a granny square, but does anything about this look square at all? Not really. It's this next round, actually these next 2 rounds, that make it square. And that's how a granny square actually works, is you use alternating rounds to change the height and make up the difference. So where we had, so we're doing our corners at the points of the eye and then at the top and bottom of the eye, and where we had at the points where we had these triple crochet stitches, our corners are going to use a shorter stitch, and then here at the top and bottom where we had the shorter stitches, our corners are going to use a longer stitch, and that's the bit that's going to make it square. This is probably the most, not probably, this is the most complicated row of this pattern, so you're going to want to really pay attention to what you're doing the first time you do it, but once you understand what the pattern is and figure it out, it's going to go pretty quickly and actually be pretty simple. So let's get started. Okay, I went ahead and did the chain 2 for the first round because that's what the instructions say. On every single round of this, by the way, you always start with a chain of X number of stitches, either 3, 2, or 1. So the first section of round 5 says to chain 2, which we've done, and then we're going to half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So that is not 2 half double crochet in 1 stitch. We're going to half double crochet 1 in each stitch. And then next double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So we did the 2 half doubles, and now we're going to double crochet. So that's the first section of row 4, and you can see the stitch height is increasing where this one is staying flat, or rather decreasing down from this. The next section says to 2 triple crochet in the next stitch, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So now we've reached our max height for this corner, essentially. And here's where kind of the magic happens with a granny square, because we've done these 2 triples, and then next it says to chain 2. So we'll chain 2 and then 2 triple crochet in the next stitch. And be careful with this one because it's real easy to pull that last chain too tight when you do these triple crochets. Be aware that you don't want to get that too tight. Now what we've done right here is start what's going to be our corner. This is the beginning of the corner. We've maxed out the height of this round where this round was minimized. So that's your first corner. And in fact, if you read your pattern, it says that that section is the first corner. So the next section as the height of this row increases, we're going to need the height of the next row to decrease. So that's essentially what we're doing in the next section. So the next section starts with a double crochet in the next 3 stitches. And then half double crochet in the next 5. And then single crochet in the next 2. And now you can see we've got the straight edge of what's going to be our square. So for the next section, this is actually our second corner. So we're going to 2 single crochet in the next stitch. So 2 stitches in 1, chain 2, and then 2 single crochet in the next stitch. And there you go. That's your second corner. And you can really see now it's really starting to get square. So the next section is going to be our next side of our square. So single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And then you're going to half double again in the next 5, just like we did on this side. So there's our 5 half doubles, and then we're going to finish out that section with double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So now you can see what we're increasing the height as this one is decreasing again. Okay, the next section of this is our third corner, and our pattern says to 2 triple crochet in the next stitch, and then chain 2 and 2 triple crochet in the next stitch, which you probably notice is exactly like the other corner, and you want to again watch your tension. Okay, we've got our third corner done, and we're going to do this next side, and according to our pattern we're going to double crochet in the next 3 stitches, and we're going to half double in the next 5 stitches. And then we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And now we've got that side done, and we're going to do the fourth corner, which you've probably guessed is again just like this corner over here. We're going to 2 single crochet in the same stitch, we're going to chain 2 and then 2 single crochet in the next stitch. And that's our fourth corner. And we're going to finish off this round with a single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then a half double in the next 2 stitches. And pull out our stitch marker, and we're going to join using a slip stitch to the second stitch of the round, but again, don't count the first one. So 1, 2, this one right here, slip through and slip it through. Now this one's different because we're going to use this same color for the next round, so we're not going to break our yarn. We're just going to leave it and we're going to just continue on like this for the next round. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start on round 6 of this. And round 6 and 7, because you only have these last 2 left, are actually pretty easy because you only have half double crochets in round 6 and single crochets in round 7, other than a chain 1 for the corners on round 6. So they should be pretty simple. So this next bit's probably going to end up being a lot of time lapse, but we'll go ahead and get started on round 6. So we're going to go ahead and, according to our pattern, we're going to chain 2, and your next stitch, if you look, you might think it's this one. It's not. It's this one. This is the one that you want for your next stitch. According to our instructions, we're going to half double crochet in the next 7 stitches. Okay, this next stitch is why I said be careful of your tension on the last round when you did these triple crochets with the chains in between, because if you've got that too tight, it's a nightmare to get your hook in there and pull your stitch through. I mean, even right now, I've got this pretty loose. It's still hard for me to get it through. But so that should be your 7th stitch. So the next bit is a repeat, and this is where it can be kind of confusing, but I'm going to explain it a little bit better than it's got here. So the first part of this repeat is your corner, and it says half double crochet, chain 1, 2 half double crochet in corner space. This right here is your corner space, because this is where your corner was for the previous round. So, and you're not going to go into an individual stitch, you're just crocheting into that space. I'll show you what I mean. So there's your first half double, and then your second half double, and you see I'm just going in that space and pulling it through, and then chain 1, and then do that again, those 2 half doubles in that same space. Now the rest of this repeat says to half double crochet in each of the next 14 stitches. So you're basically going across this top. So this is where it can get a little confusing as to which stitch you're actually going to start with on these edges. These 4 stitches right here are the triple crochets from your previous round to make that corner. So if you look, you've got a stitch right here. That's the last of that chain 2 from the previous round. And there's your 3rd, essentially, triple crochet. You don't want to go into that chain 2. You're going to want to go into this one right here. That's actually your first stitch. So we're going to start there, and we're going to do 14 half doubles all the way across. So this was 13 stitches, and your 14th stitch should go in that last little stitch before the corner, the one that was hard to get into. I said could be hard to get into if you get your tension too tight. That's going to be true all the way around. So you can either count your stitches or just go till you get to that point. But it's going to be a good way to tell if you're using the right ones is if you count to 14 and you're not in that stitch right there, your count's off. So we'll go ahead and do our 14th stitch. You did your 7, and then you did the first of what you think is going to be 3 repeats. This is where this pattern is wrong. So it tells you to do that 3 times. So there's corner, side 1, corner, side 2, corner, side 3. And that stops you right there. And then it says half double in each of the remaining 6 stitches. Well, it leaves off the last corner, and it's not going to work right. So what you have to do is corner, edge 1, corner, edge 2, corner, edge 3, and then do that corner again. And it's exactly the same as the other 3 corners, where you're going to 2 half double crochet, chain 1, 2 half double crochet in this corner space right here. And then you're going to half double in the last 6 stitches to finish out the round. And if those instructions were confusing, hopefully watching me do it will clarify things. So we've reached the end of that repeat 3 times, and you'll notice we're at that last corner, and there's no instructions for that corner, but it's exactly the same as the corners before. Don't freak out. If you just try to do 6 stitches across, it's not gonna come out right. You want to go ahead and actually do your corner. So there's your corner space, and just like before, you're gonna 2 half double into that corner space, chain 1, and then 2 half double into that same space. And then you're going to half double crochet in the last 6 stitches to the start of your round. And now we're back to the start, and we are going to do our slip stitch again into the second stitch of the row. So don't count the first one. 1, 2, that one right there. So we're going to go ahead and switch back to our black for our last round. So our last round is single crochet all the way around, and your corners on this one are just 2 single crochet in the corner space. That's all it is. You don't have to do any chain stitches in between. So as you single crochet in each stitch, when you get to this corner space, you're going to do 2 single crochets in there, 2 in there, 2 in there, and 2 in there. And it starts with a chain 1 because you're doing single crochets all the way around. And you're going to end this final round with these 8 stitches across. So when you finish up, if you don't hit 8 stitches for that last one, your count's off somewhere. And we're going to close this off by doing a slip stitch into the first stitch of the round, which is not this one, but this one. So we're going to get underneath that, grab, slip through, pull it out, and we're going to cut our yarn. And then pull it through the loop. Okay, so now you've finished all of the rounds of the square. There's no more actual crochet to do, but we do still have to do some finishing bits on this. We've got to get all of these loose ends tied off and woven in. So this is the front where we just finished. We're going to turn this over to the back. And we're going to start up here at the top with the last pull through. You're going to pull that pretty snug. You're going to thread your yarn needle, which is just like threading a regular needle but bigger. And you're going to weave this end in. Now again, black yarn, hard to see, but it also makes camouflaging this end pretty easy. You're just going to grab stitches going across. And it doesn't really matter which ones you get, as long as you're going underneath a black stitch. And you want to catch, I don't know, 4, maybe 5 with your yarn needle, and then you're going to pull your yarn through. And now that end is hidden, and you're going to cut it as close as you can to your work without actually cutting your work. Cut that off. And you can't see it at all. So for the next piece where we have these two colors that are joining, we're going to go ahead and knot these together. Now again, don't pull it like strangulation hangman's noose tight, but you want to pull it fairly snug, and you're just doing a regular old knot. And see, you really can't even tell it's a knot, it just looks like part of the stitch. And now we're going to weave these ends in. And that is how we're going to go through and do this for this whole square. And there we go. All your ends are woven in, and your square is done. And if you're going to make an afghan out of these, you would have to sew them together. I'm not going to go through that because I'm not the one that's going to be doing it for this particular project. But you just make as many squares as you need for however big of a blanket that you want. So that's that. An granny square.